Prepare live stream the meeting. The blue button is going.
On your screen, do I look like I'm coming from the side?
No, you're in the middle. Hello, and welcome to our Conversation live stream today. Today, we have the honor of talking to Daniella Young, TEDx speaker, culture coach, culture hacker, and overall great person. Daniella, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Jason.
So you have so many things going on right now. What one thing you want to talk about first?
Oh my God. As somebody that did a TED talk about transition and how to handle change, I feel like my family just decided to bite off, 10 different things at once. So we're, launching companies and writing a book and moving. We sold our house, sold most of the things we own. We moved into an RV. Because my husband's retiring from the military after 20 years, and we have no idea what our lives look like in August and beyond of next year.
So you just sold your house. How many square feet was your house?
I think it was 2,400.
And your RV is?
About 300.
Wait, what? So what do you do with all your stuff? You just gave it away, sold
Really
it,
nice
storage?
Stuff. So, we did put some stuff in storage, right? Because we have this free year of storage from the military for the retiree. And so, some of our very favorite stuff and family mementos and that kind of stuff we put in storage. But for the most part, we've got about 300 feet of living space, and then about 300 feet underneath the bus is almost all storage. So we've got a lot of stuff there. We've got bunk beds for our 4-year-old, and then her top bunks for all her stuff. That's her little space. And then we're in the rest of it. It's also my office, of course.
Of course. And so was this something planned out, or you just decided, we're going to do this?
Yeah, we've actually been thinking about it for about 4 years. When we first got married and moved out to Washington, we almost lived in a fifth wheel for a while. But then we found out we were having a baby, and so we decided that we needed, this big house and all this stuff. And then we just kept thinking about it more, and the market was really good. It was a good opportunity to sell the house. It was a good opportunity to kind of simplify our lives, which is really how we keep feeling about it. You don't feel the lack of space when you don't have all the stuff that you need to fill it up with.
So how much thought process was going into, man, we're going to have 90% less space, but we're still a 4-year-old daughter? How did that process go?
So, part of the plan wasn't to do this in Washington where it rains for 90% of the time. Our initial plan was to do this in Texas where you can be outside a lot. So we have sort of now changed the plan, but like I said, we don't know what the plan is. But she's happy. Kids are simple. She's got a pair of skates for her birthday. We keep under the bus that she can go skate around with. All the RV parks have pools and parks and little libraries, and she's pretty happy playing Legos at the dinner table, and she honestly hasn't even touched most of her toys and her stuff that is all packed away like Tetris on her bunk.
So speaking of Seattle weather, I read somewhere today that here in Seattle, we've gone 90 plus days with no sun. So yay, Seattle.
Yes. And, we haven't had a sunset after 4:30 p.m. since October.
So you've been playing, not playing, but doing this entrepreneurial thing for a few years now. Can you talk about how you got started with that and how following the entrepreneurial process has helped you potentially get a book deal and become a book author?
Yeah. So I, left. Well, I guess first I should start by saying I was at a job. It was my first job out of the military. I did the same thing everyone does, that I said, what does my Army resume say that I do, and how do I translate that to the corporate world? And I got lucky, I networked, I got a job, and it was a great job, but it wasn't for me. But I was there, and I was bored, and I was listening to this book on tape about networking. And he talked about how they've done studies that across industries, people who do public speaking make more money than people who don't. And I was like, what am I an expert on? I'm going to start speaking. And so this was kind of before I even left corporate and got into entrepreneurship at all. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to get up on some stages. I'm going to revive the kind of performance stuff that I used to do as a child. And in the meantime, I ended up leaving my job and telling myself I was going to take a few months to figure out, how to start a business. And I, fortunately, in that time, I found this organization called Bunker Labs, which was all about veterans and entrepreneurship, which was really cool because I don't think I'd ever actually considered the idea that you could just be an entrepreneur, just make your own money, design your own life. Of course, then the next 3 years was figuring out that it was a lot more complicated than taking 3 months to start a business.
So I heard you say before, like where you say, if you spoken in front of everyone, you're a public speaker. I don't think a lot of people get that. You don't have to be an expert at anything. If you spoke in front of a crowd in, Mexico City, you're an international public speaker. So you're a public speaker, right? Can you go more into that?
Right. So, the entire concept, right, that people who do public speaking make more money. If you think about why that is, right? It doesn't have to do with being an expert in something. I believe it has to do with the confidence that it takes to step up there. I call it front of the room advantage. When somebody hands you a microphone in front of a crowd, everyone in that crowd assumes that like you're way cooler than you actually are. And you could do it. If you're listening right now, you think about the last time you heard a speaker introduced. By the way, that badass bio, they wrote it themselves and they gave it to the person putting on the event, who then reads it out. And it's like, this is why I'm so cool. And then you get up there and you give a talk. And people aren't second guessing you. It is the same thing I've been coached on as an author. Like, Daniella, you don't have to prove yourself. Your face is gonna be on the jacket of the book. Like everyone reading this book already thinks you have the credibility. So there's some of that. And I think the interesting thing about speaking is you can reverse engineer it to get yourself in front of the room and get that front of the room advantage.
And I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, this person speaking, they're just a natural speaker. They get up in the front of the room with no practice and they're speaking like wonderfully. Or no, like Steve Jobs is known like being that perfect presenter, right? But he practices hours and hours. He bring people in to talk, no one, I'm sure some people get up in front of a crowd and talk naturally and that's, are wonderful, but most people practice, right?
Yes. And, I think I'm a good example of that because I do have an outgoing personality, lovely personality. I'm always life of the party. So introverts will look at me and say, well, I can't do that. But I mean, my first talks were terrible. Even you can go watch my TED Talk. The talk is good. The delivery is, I would say, not great. And it, like any other skill, it takes experience. And so every time people say to me, "Oh, I'm just not good at public speaking," I just look right back at them and say, "Well, how often do you practice?"
Yes, and for me, I don't mind public speaking. Like me, suppose I'm in a room with 6 people and everyone has to say something for 5 minutes. That scares me to death. I hate that. But in front of a crowd of people, I'm okay because I don't know these 100 people, right? Like you said, I'm the expert. Let me talk right. But one-on-one it throws me off some.
And it's always hardest to speak in front of your peers. I used to do this exercise with my lieutenants when I was a military intelligence captain, and they were all so scared just out of the schoolhouse. It's like, look, if you're up there, if you're the one giving the brief, it's because you have the information. So I think a little tip for people when they're getting up in front of something to speak is just remind yourself why you're the one with the microphone. It should be because you have something to say that no one else can say. And then also you can ask yourself, what is the worst thing that's going to happen to me if this goes bad?
Did you die? Probably not.
Did you die?
Probably not. Maybe someone made fun of you, so what?
Exactly.
So let's talk about your journey about becoming a potential book author.
Yeah, so that has been interesting, part of the entrepreneur process, and I went through it sort of differently from most of people that are in the entrepreneur space that I'm interacting with. There's a lot of self-publishing, which self-publishing can be really awesome. However, I was approaching writing a memoir. For people that know me or maybe don't know me, I've got the 1 in a billion story, which is, I grew up in a really awful religious cult. I escaped that as a teenager, came to America. I put myself through school. I became a captain in the Army, kind of check, all these different things. But I would say the process has been a couple of different things. And one of that was working with a consultant from the publishing industry who knew what she was doing. And, I think that's really important for entrepreneurs. Like, we all think we know what we're doing, but there's a million ways to skin a cat. There's a million ways to start any business. There's a million ways to write a story. And so she helped me. She literally told me, Daniella, no one cares about your life. So your memoir has to be about an idea that is illustrated by stories within your life. And that's how you choose which story to tell. And so my memoir is currently called Uncultured. And we're still, in the process, so I can't say much about the process, but it is being written as the idea of group behavior, and that human beings will do almost anything to be accepted by their group. And then I'm using stories from my life, from a cult, from the military, from my family, from sports teams, from whatever, right? To sort of show everyone how that relates to all of us.
So how did your entrepreneurial journey help you or not help you with the book process?
Oh yeah, so this is fun. So writing a book proposal and then pitching agents or getting publishing houses to look at your book proposal is pretty much exactly like pitching a tech startup for investment funding. And so it's been interesting for me as I didn't really explain that whole process, but I met Bunker Labs. I started volunteering with Bunker Labs. And while I've been on my personal process of figuring out what I was going to be, I've also been, studying entrepreneurship and coaching other veteran entrepreneurs and helping people make connections and all that stuff. And so I'm very familiar with the entrepreneurial process. And what I don't think is, on the flip side, a lot of writers think about writing a book as the entrepreneur process. And so it's been great for me to be sort of navigating that road, completely unknown road to me, right, of traditional publishing, but realizing that it's like, okay, the story, or in the case of entrepreneurship, the idea is like 1% of what makes you Mark Zuckerberg, right? Everything else is your team, your process, how you put it together, how well you pivot and react to change. And those things are the same across the board.
I mean, we talk about companies pivoting. When you did an article, did it like get edited like 10, 15 times?
Yeah. So I did an article that's published in a journal called Narratively. It's called I Escaped the Cult, but I couldn't escape the cult mentality. And what I sent them, what I pitched to them, and what I published are
like, I didn't write this.
Completely different things. And it is actually, I mean, I did write it, but I've had colleagues of mine say, especially some that read the first draft, say, how did you do this so well? I said, I did absolutely everything my editor told me.
And it's good because most people are like, I'm not changing this. This is my article. I'm not changing this. But you will open the but open the feedback and change it. Nick, tell what happened after the article got published, because you opened all the changes.
Yeah, and I also think, in entrepreneurship, this, we talk a lot about your values and your why. And that was, for me, that was a key part, was that I had my head so busy in, I'm a corporate consultant, I do culture, like I want to sell consulting services. And that's kind of what my first draft of the article was written like. However, the why I was going through this was to get published in a literary journal to drive interest in the publishing industry for a memoir. And so when I got the changes back, I wanted to fight. I threw things, I yelled. And then I realized that I should probably let the literary people tell me how to write a good literary work of art.
And so many people are not open to that. So many people, oh, this is my story. I'm doing this my way. And they got to be humble enough to say, no, someone else is smarter than I am. Let them do their job and help me out, right?
And I will say that too. I think a lot of people that have, especially traumatic stories, sensational stories, they shy away from telling it. And I've been warned a lot, like, be careful. The media is going to try to co-opt your narrative to make this something that you don't want it to be. But this is, again, where I go back to the entrepreneur process and the why and the values. And, I was able to determine, my book is going to be about culture, group behavior, how we operate. So I will make any changes they want to make a better book. You can change my title, you can change my anecdotes that I use, you can change whatever, but you can't change the underlying why I'm doing this. That's when I walk away. And having that level of clarity has enabled me to work with an amazing co-writer, communicate well with agents, put together the business plan, right, the proposal, and all of that.
So in a couple of days, you and your family are going to go on this great adventure. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this is going to be the fun culture shock. So I grew up mostly in Brazil. I spent 10 years in Brazil. I was in a giant American religious cult commune in Brazil, but Brazil was there somewhere. And part of, I think, actually my escapism as a child was learning Portuguese, kind of interacting with the Brazilian culture as much as I could. And so when I had a baby, my husband and I decided we were going to raise my child in Brazilian Portuguese. And so that has been incredibly difficult. My husband only spoke one language, so there was no way he could understand that there's different levels of being good. And my Portuguese was like an uneducated 14-year-old girl. But I, threw myself back into that. And part of the deal was every couple of years, we would spend a significant amount of time in a Portuguese-speaking country. So we haven't gotten to it for 4 years, but now we're getting to it. And we're going to spend 2 months in Brazil traveling. And it was originally just supposed to be vacation, but as these things go, when you embrace vulnerability and do things that scare you, sometimes you get business opportunities out of them. So, in the process of making sure I could raise my daughter in my second language, I went back and took some formal lessons, and I've been going out of my way to sort of network in the Brazilian community and make a community for my daughter. And in the meantime, my Portuguese is now pretty much professional level, and I've been able to interact with Brazilians. And one of the random acts of kindness, I think, that I did
the baby clothes.
4 years ago, I gave some baby clothes to a Brazilian colleague visiting, and turned out he had some interesting business opportunities for me. So I've actually been invited to speak at Brazil's version of West Point, their big military academy. They've got the first class of women, like special operators, graduating, and I'm gonna get to go at the end of next month and give a talk in Portuguese.
And you've been doing like a lot of stuff on social media too, like in Portuguese. I know you're doing some Instagram live with people in Brazil, the Brazilian military,
so
and
I've been doing
making a name for yourself over there. And making a name for yourself over there.
Yeah, I linked in with some military influencers on the Brazil side, and we've been doing promotions, coming up with different ideas. A lot of the work we do in the veteran community here in the U.S. is not being done at all in Brazil. There's really no infrastructure for that. So they're very interested in learning from me while I'm down there and seeing, what are the ways that they can sort of support their veterans. And so that's all really fun and exciting. And in the meantime, while I'm down there, I actually want to do a series. I'm all about culture, and I'm familiar with the Brazilian language, but I'm not that familiar with the Brazilian culture. So I'm planning to do a 30-day series on Instagram Live, where each day I find someone just outdoors on the street and get them to hop on Instagram Live with me and tell me what they love about their city, what they struggle with, and anything else they kind of want to say.
So do you ever plan out where you're going to be for each day? Like what city you're going to be each day, or just going to go down like pretty much winging it? Just winging it?
We have like broad ideas. We kind of have like when we get there, when we need to be at the military academy, when we want to be in Rio for Carnival, when we're going to the city I grew up to visit my friend. But mostly it's just, we just want to meet people and talk and get recommendations. And, I have this little cheat thing because I have a little blonde 4-year-old who speaks perfect Portuguese. So we're going to be like best friends with everyone we meet.
So in Brazil, I know a lot of people think in Brazil they speak Spanish, but they actually speak Portuguese, correct?
Yes.
What other language do they speak there besides Portuguese?
Only Portuguese.
Oh, okay, Portuguese is it?
And literally most Latin American countries are just as monolingual as the United States.
Okay.
Like most people only speak Spanish or Portuguese, depending on what country they're from. And, with Brazil, what's interesting, so in South America, the continent, it's not Mexico, but South America, Portuguese is actually the most spoken language of South America because that's how huge. Brazil is the 4th largest country in the world, or 4th or 5th. But Brazilians it's one of these cultural things we never think about, but Brazilians are so lumped in with Spanish speakers that they're annoyed and they don't even always know they're annoyed by that. And then they meet, a white American family who speaks Portuguese, going out of their way to raise their daughter with that language, and they're just blown away because they've never seen that, had that. And I feel like in so many of my interactions with Brazilians, they'll tell me they feel seen because this white American is making an effort to speak to them in their language, which is.
So from my point of view, you've been like laying the bricks to be successful in the future, doing the stuff you got to do. Like, where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Where do you want to be at in 10 years from now?
That question. Okay. What I want to be 10 years from now is I want to be what Brene Brown is to vulnerability.
So who is that, in case people don't know who that is?
Yeah. I'll tell. So, but what Brene Brown is to vulnerability, Daniella Young is to culture. So Brene Brown is a PhD social scientist researcher. I may or may not get to that part, but she did this TED Talk about vulnerability and the studies and the data behind vulnerability. And she basically went viral. She wrote a bunch of books, but basically she is kind of the #1 thought leader in vulnerability. And she is engaged with companies all over the world to go out and give talks, and she's done Netflix specials, and she's most recently said, I'm no longer working one-on-one with companies. Please engage with my content. And I feel like for the entrepreneur life, that's like success. I've put enough out there. I have enough residual income. Now I'm just going to go in my hole and think about things.
As an entrepreneur and also as a book writer, how hard was it for you to used to be hearing the word no all the time? And how important is that for entrepreneurs to get comfortable with hearing no?
It's hard. It still happens, and it's just ups and downs, right? It's just ups and downs every day. One day you feel like you're on top of the world. The next day you feel exhausted. As an entrepreneur, I feel like I was a little surprised that people are just very blunt with just telling you your idea is stupid. And that's great once you get used to it, but it's really hard for, I would say, probably the first couple of years for most of us.
And then talk about how some people, they can't take anything personal. A lot of people take things personal. Oh, you told me my idea sucks. That means I suck. Or you told me this negative thing, and they take it personal. Of course, you're going to take it personal extent. We're all humans, right? Like you have a negative comment on social media, blah, blah, blah. You're the, it's hard not to take it personal, right? But then you can't take it personal. How do you balance that?
And I would say, for every entrepreneur, you kind of need to build up your muscles for it. because first of all, you don't always get told yes. You know, everything is not charmed. But also, like, you know, so I wrote an ebook recently and I mocked up a cover for it. And I'm in no way a designer, but I thought my cover was great. And I thought my blurb was amazing. And I posted it in a feedback group and it got torn up. And I was feeling very, very beat up and very sorry for myself until one person just like rewrote my entire
I remember that
elevator pitch for me. And it was amazing.
I remember I told you, I don't know what you do, but you got to pay this guy back some kind of way. It was like, it's just brilliant what he did.
Yeah. But that's, I guess, kind of what I mean with like when we build up our muscles for it. You know, it's like, it sucks. And then you get the feedback that changes everything. And that puts you on the right path. And you never get it if you didn't put yourself in the sort of the punching ring.
So Daniella, how can people keep in touch with you on your Brazilian trip? Just follow you on your Instagram, or how would the best way for them to follow your
Yeah, so I think Instagram's going to be my main thing, which is Daniella Young. And I'll be doing a series of, you know, daily videos in Portuguese and then in English. So people can follow me there. And then my podcast is launching Saturday, February 1st. Which is called Culture Hacking with Daniella Young, sponsored by Cabinet Shire. And I interview just super interesting people. I get them to tell me their life stories, and then we talk about culture and all the different things. I'm telling you, arranged marriages, Iron Man, alcoholics, billion-dollar company founders. We got all.
So in Brazil, your daughter won't be speaking Portuguese, correct?
Well, she speaks English to her dad. So
okay, because the question was, if she only speaks Portuguese, how worried are you about her coming back to America? Like, oh, I forgot how to speak English.
Not worried at all.
Okay.
Not at that age. And then actually, it was funny because she actually does 3 languages. So her nanny speaks in Spanish, I speak to her in Portuguese, and her dad speaks in English. But her dad was a special operations helicopter pilot who was pretty much gone for 50% of her first 4 years. So she is just now at 4 starting to get over speaking English with an accent. And with like kind of either a Mexican accent or a Brazilian accent, whichever one she's flipped back from. But you know, when you're in the country that speaks the language, so I don't even think they start putting kids in English as a second language class till like middle school. Because when you're any younger than you know 10 or 12, you fit right in and you're fine.
So we got to hop off here pretty soon. Anything else you want to tell everyone, or anything you want to talk about, or advice you want to give, or social media, or anything?
I do think people should stay tuned for the 6'2" white blonde guy and the incredible culture shock he's about to go through by getting dropped into South America for 2 months. That's going to be fun, and I'm going to talk about it a lot on the internet. Yeah.
Hey, Danny, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. You're going to be doing some great things.
Thank you. Well, hopefully I'll be back on here talking about a book sometime soon.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, Jason.